there's two sides to every coin. Then there's a conversation you can join. But I'm an old dog and there's new tricks. And some of my opinions you just can't fix. 'Cause I'm an old man yelling at the sky. I'ma shake my fists at the clouds and cry. Get off my lawn, you snowflake, before I have a meltdown, breakdown, shakedown. 'Cause this is my hometown, so back down, sports clown. It's all just a game, and it's the last down, let down, cowtown. I said it's all just a game. I give the touchdown, the rundown, the lowdown. 'Cause it's over the game, gonna crack down and shut down the sundown. I said it's all just a game.
Hi, kids. Happy start of the 23-24 NHL season if you choose to celebrate. I am me. You are you. It's good to have you back. Thank you for joining us. It's always a pleasure to do this. This marks 20 NHL seasons around the Calgary Flames. Let's go with 15 of them covering day in, day out, either radio or television. 5 of them, 4.5, 5 of them working for the parent company in and around the team. And then this half last year and this year doing whatever this is. I don't, all due respect to the Wes Gilbertsons and Saleems and Mackenzies and Austins, and like you say, the Gilbertsons and the Hayneses of the world that are down there the Francises that are down there every day. They're covering it. I'm just like you. I'm making odd, cryptic, conversational messages about their play. And every once in a while, we'll talk to somebody. So this is a bit different for me, but 20, there's 20. Believe it or not, this spring, and I sent this text out or tweet out, whatever, 2 weeks ago. This spring will be 20 years since the origin of the Red Mile, the run, all the way to Game 7. Jerome McGinley, Mika Kiprusoff, all of that, the Eliminator, Steve Montador, Double Doors, Commodore, Rhett Warner, all of that, 20 years. And it just seems like yesterday. Honest to God, it seems like yesterday. Mike Keenan as the head coach of the Calgary Flames, million miles ago. Jim Playfair, head coach of the Calgary Flames, million miles ago. Brent Sutter, head coach with Darryl as the general manager, million miles ago. Jay Feaster and Bob Hartley, millions of miles ago. But for whatever reason, that run in 2004 feels like yesterday. I miss Joe Sports. He's a huge part of that for us, and some of the craziness that we got up to. But yeah, so it's 20 years. It's cool. We are an inclusive podcast. Everybody's welcome here. We are allies. Oh, we'll get into that in a bit. Broadcasting live from Treaty 6 territory today as I continue my little fall adventure. But anyway, it's exciting. I don't know if you jumped on and watched any of Connor Bedard's first game in the NHL last night. The hype is a little, I just don't enjoy the hype anymore. Excited for the young man, excited for Chicago. I think it's amazing. I think he'll do well, all of those sort of things. But I don't know about ESPN gets him in the first period. Sportsnet gets him in the second period. Why is nobody holding Sportsnet's feet to the fire about having this just constantly cheaping out and using ESPN's feeds and the American feeds and not creating their own content? Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I will say this. Mark Lazarus with The Athletic had a great quote, and I'm sure everybody else had it too, but I saw it on Mark Lazarus from Connor Bedard, which was, you dream your whole life about playing your first NHL game, and now it's over. It's kind of sad. And I'm like, that is very cool for an 18-year-old. I like that. It's nice. He's got his head screwed on straight. Later on in the program, courtesy of our friends at Ski Cellar Snowboard, we will be joined by, arguably, in my mind, one of the best coaches in all of hockey. Carla MacLeod will join us as she is cobbling together a team, a franchise in Ottawa. They have players. Haven't seen a schedule, haven't seen colors, haven't seen a name, but they got a coach. And Carla will join us. We got some other hockey things that we'll debate and talk about with Carla, and some Olympic things, actually, to talk about with Carla. But it is the start of a brand new Calgary Flames season. And it's Winnipeg tonight at home. Winnipeg kind of shocking the world a little bit with the twin contract extensions for Scheifele and Hellebuck. It's good, like really good. Beginning to get nervous about Winnipeg last year, about the marketplace, about everything that was going on there. This is good. And Hellebuck, Vezina Trophy caliber goaltender that, I'm sorry, can drag this team on his back to places. Not unlike a Mika Kiprusoff. Even as bad as it is in front of him, he makes up for a lot. Scheifele, I think he's the kind of hockey player we all want, the kind of hockey player every team needs. And so this is a good signing. So Winnipeg in tonight against the local hockey heroes. This is when everybody gets on their high horse and, points in their articles or yells and screams on the radio shows. And here are my bold predictions. Here's my lock of the year and all that stuff. We have chosen to take a different tact. By the way, feel free to drop a question or a comment in the chat. Jack will go through those and get to some of them later in the show. Looking forward to that. And I'm sure a lot of people do have expectations. And we used to do that on the old show. We call it the Great Expectation Show, that kind of brief couple of hours before puck drops and the ideas are formulated and the rubber hits the road. You sit here and the what ifs are spectacular. What if this happens? What if this happens? If you're a positive person, the glass is half full. If you're a negative person, it's half empty. But I'm not sure this is a great expectation show. But it is an opportunity to talk about some things that when I bump into people and they go, what do you think about the Flames? Or what do you think about this season? So, and it's a little nod, and I love what Jack's done here. I love this graphic. It's a little wink, nod to Peter King, of Monday Morning Quarterback, formerly of Sports Illustrated, and formerly of way back in the day, I believe USA Today is where this came up, which is he used to write the column 10 Things I Think. And I love that. I've always loved that because these are the things that I think. There's Pete. I love that. Anyway, that's attribution. For kids who don't know, that's attribution. I did not come up with the 10 things I think. He did. But here are 10 things that I think. And then Jack is going to burst our bubble with a little math later on. Let's go back to that game in Vancouver on Friday, the 3-1 loss, the final preseason game. Interesting that the Canucks bookended the Flames preseason. And the first game was 10-0. And Matt Coronado had a hat trick. And everything was coming up roses. Yeah, it's the preseason butt. Yeah, it's the preseason butt. Yeah, it's the preseason butt. And we said in the preseason, you aren't held accountable. You don't get credit for your wins. You're held accountable to your losses. The last game of the preseason, a 3-1 loss in Vancouver. Sorry, I saw so much of that garbage last year. That's the Flames I saw last year. Goal on the first shot, get close, and then it was 3-1 after 2. It finishes up 3-1 on the road. I gather it's the preseason. I understand it's the preseason. I accept that it's the preseason. But that better be the last time we see that result, effort, malaise, garbage that we saw on Friday, because it looked too much like last year. There have been too many positives. There have been too many things said about moving on. That can't happen. Here's the other thing I think. Hanifin and Anderson need to be the leaders on this blue line. They need to take a step. Hanifin, it's funny. Every time that the great Elliot Friedman speaks, the world listens, as they should. And, wrote that the Flames are engaging Hanifin and Tanev in talks. And, that got the whole rebuild crowd upset. Oh, we're doing the same thing. We're getting old. No, they're having talks. I don't think Hanifin's going to be here next year. But I think for this team to have success this year, he's got to play like it's contract year. I think he's got to be a hole that you have to fill in the offseason. I think for this team to take that step back into the playoffs, Hanifin needs to take another step. He's a good NHL defenseman, not necessarily a great one, has moments. And then Anderson, I think Anderson's the Mark Giordano of this generation. I think he's going to eventually work his way into Norris Trophy conversations. I think he's eventually going to work his way into the notebooks and the notepads and the chyrons and the graphics of other teams. I don't think he's a hidden gem. I don't think he's a well-kept secret or anything like that. But I really believe in Rasmus Anderson. I really do. And last year he got hit by a car and still was one of the best defensemen. I think that needs to be one of the things that we notice in this season. All right. 10 things I think. Huberdeau has got to earn the contract. Sorry. He just does. He does. Last year wasn't good enough. The 2 years ago was good enough. Showed what he could be. I am not critical of the Calgary Flames and how they presented Jonathan Huberdeau this summer. I am a big Brendan Parker fan. I think Peter Stewart and Mitch Nybo, Carlo Petrini, all of those, Ed, Stumpy, all those guys down that do all the video work, Tori, that do all the stories, that do all of that stuff. They did a remarkable job this summer of rejuvenating his image. He's engaged. He wants to be here. He wants to be a leader. Cool, excellent, fine, fantastic, cool, great. Show it. Has to earn that contract. Does not need to give me 116 points. Needs to give me a point a game. More importantly, that needs to make those around him better. We'll get to that in a second. Okay? 10 things I think for the Calgary Flames this year. Jack, can I get this graphic? I'd like to share this on social later. But anyway, I love this graphic.
Yeah, we'll get it to you, Rob.
You're the best. Okay, you got to find ways to make nights difficult for the other team. Duh. No. You have to find ways to make nights difficult for other teams. We're 14 minutes into this show and we haven't talked about AJ Greer being claimed on waivers. I get it. Understand it. But Rob, they were going to give the young guys, Cole Schwint will get his opportunity. Don't worry. You have to play with some snot. You have to play with some saliva. You have to play with some ill intent. You have to. Now, I am not saying headhunting. I am not saying going and challenging the entire bench to fight. I am not saying I mentioned 20 years. Like, I've seen a lot and I've done a lot. I was the only designated fight caller in National Hockey League history. There you go. On the radio. Peter Marr would tap me for fights and I'd call him. Designated fight. I don't believe in that stuff anymore. But that still doesn't mean you can't make it tough to play against you in your building, on the road, and particularly when you're losing. But Rob, why are you talking about losing? Because you need to go into the night with some passion, some spittle, some blood, some cursing, some snot. This franchise, in 20 years, but probably in 50 years, when it's not successful, goes quietly into the night. Down 3-1 in Nashville in the second period. Well, there's always tomorrow. No. AJ Greer, Dewar, Kadri, Tanev, Dubé, Mangiapane, Huberdeau. I don't care. But if this team is going to be successful, it needs to make it difficult to be in the building with them. Play with snot. Play with spit. 10 things I think. Coronado will be in the Calder conversation, ? Matt Coronado, right now, today, has as good a release and as good a shot as better than 98%, 99% of his peers in this league. Shot and release. Right winger, shoots right, really like him. Bedard is going to win the Calder. If he doesn't win the Calder, Cooley's going to win the Calder. If Cooley doesn't win the Calder, somebody else is. I am saying Matt Coronado needs to be a thinking man's ballot, on the thinking man's ballot. Matt Coronado deserves to be looked at for the Calder. If he's bumping up against 20 or 30, big numbers, he may be a Wrangler by November. I don't know. I don't think so, but I don't know. But if this team is going to take a step, if this team is going to be better, Matt Coronado needs to find his way into that conversation. Not win it, not be the favorite, but be in the conversation. All right. 10 things I think. All right. Markstrom needs to find his groove early. Wow. Did you come up with that on your own? Yes, I did. I didn't like the first goal in Vancouver. I liked the response, though. Markstrom was the best player on the ice. That game should have ended 6-7-1 Vancouver. Markstrom was the best player on the ice. Markstrom, 2 years ago, led the National Hockey League in shutouts, and a bulk of those came early. Vezina Trophy candidate. Now, I know what happened in the series against Edmonton. You can sit down with me, and we can have a conversation about whether or not he's still feeling the effects of that, or if that's become a mental block, perhaps. But I need Markstrom to find a groove early, and I need to see shutouts. I don't need 15 shutouts in the first 16 games. I'm talking about 2 or 3 shutouts in the first 20 games. Show me that the defense can play in front of you, but show me you have the mental fortitude and wherewithal to go out and find a way to blank other teams. He had one last year, and it came at the tail end of the year. Not good enough. Bellwether for Markstrom, shutouts. Okay. Having said that, I don't know if you caught this. There's a little program on the Nation, on the Flames Nation, called Barn Burner. You should check it out. Those kids are trying really hard. I think they've got a future. Yesterday, they had a very special guest on. They had the general manager of the Calgary Flames, Craig Conroy, and Boomer asked him straight up. And I think this is a good time to talk about. Okay, we spent all the time talking about Wolf, Vladar, Markstrom. What is the plan for the Flames and their goaltending this season?
Wolf, what's that conversation with him?
I mean, you could tell he was disappointed, which he should be. You know what? Sure. He's done everything he can. The one thing I said, I still don't want you not to play games. As young as you are, we need you to play as much as you can. And he loves playing games. He's like, you're right. I've only backed up my first year in Everett. And other than that, I've played a ton of games. Yeah. So I would rather play games, but to have 3 goalies, we did it one time. And I just didn't, it didn't flow for me, and it didn't make sense. And I think just, especially with having the team here in Calgary, he's done a great job. And everybody wants to see him, the whole city. I mean, probably when I walk around the city, what are you doing with Wolf? Yeah. I totally get it, but I also need to make sure he continues to play, and he's going to be here. I mean, he's put himself in a great spot, but we also feel very comfortable with the other 2 goalies. So, it's a battle, and, I have to do what's right, I think, for the team. And right now it's to go in this direction.
I have to do what's right for the team. So, and again, if I'm Wolf, I don't want to be in Calgary. Yeah, I want to be in Calgary. I'm in the wrong dressing room. I don't want to be with the Wranglers. I want to be with the Flames. That's fine. When nobody wants you to be, golly, this is awesome. But if you're mad about it, play like you're mad about it. Take it out on the opposition. Continue to make things. He just didn't make things difficult on Dan Vladar. He just didn't make things difficult on Ryan Huska and the coaching staff. He just didn't make things difficult on Craig Conroy. He was fine. I think he can play. But he didn't kick the door in. All right, 10 things I think. Ryan Huska's smile can't go away. Ryan Huska has been the anti-Daryl Sutter. Ryan Huska has held these press conferences. He's given you clips. He's answered questions with a smile on his face, with an enthusiasm. You learn something. You enjoy something. You feel like you're talking to a friend. Fantastic. If I may quote the great Mike Tyson, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. Ryan Huska needs to be the same guy when they lose 4 in a row, when they win 5 in a row. The ups and downs of an NHL season, the grind can get to you. We have seen it do it to coaches. We've seen it happen to players. Ryan Huska is a breath of fresh air. He really is. And you talk to people on the inside in hockey that are not related to the Calgary Flames, that are outside here, he is a popular coach. People like Ryan Huska. People think highly of Ryan Huska. I'm in that category. But now the bullets are flying and now the points matter. Don't lose the smile. Be yourself. Bring that enthusiasm, because I think the challenge with this club in the last couple of seasons is when it got dark, it got real dark. Having said that, this is not about allowing, the monkeys to run the circus, or whatever your analogy is. This is not about, a free-for-all, or that there needs to be structure, there needs to be discipline, there needs to be accountability, and all those sort of things. But you can do it with a smile on your face. 10 things I think. Craig Conroy will put his stamp on this team. He will put his stamp on this team. There will be a decision. There will be a trade. There will be a player acquisition or maybe removal off the roster that will put his stamp on this team. Not for the sake of doing it. I'm not suggesting it's a trade for the sake of a trade. I'm not suggesting he's going to go out and fire, do anything like that just to say, hey, look, it's my team. But he will. And I think in many ways, Brian Burke said it best. There's never been a more popular general manager upon hiring than Craig Conroy in the history of hockey. People love Craig. He's relatable. He's your guy. He's our guy. He's the guy. He's a former captain. He's everything. He wants to be here. He loves Calgary. He loves the Flames. He could have gone elsewhere. He's an American who loves Canada. All of the things that make him so endearing. He will put his mark on this team. 10 things I think. Beat Edmonton. But Rob, they're in the division. Of course. No. Calgary Flames have 1 Stanley Cup. That's 1 more than the Vancouver Canucks and a couple less than the Tampa Bay Lightning, and yada, yada, yada. We can all line it up. We all know. The Flames probably should have 2 Stanley Cups, but here we are with 1. The reason they were to 2 Stanley Cup finals in 86 and 89, the real reason, Edmonton. They were a team built to compete against Edmonton. They were a team built to beat Edmonton. They were a team that would, I mentioned Snot before. They would go in there. Yes, Dave Brown was a monster. Dave Semenko was a monster. But Tim Hunter was no shrinking violet. And again, Willie Platt, there's all kinds of names in that rivalry. Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl could be 1 and 2 easily. Maybe they're 1 and 2A. I don't know. McDavid's the best, and Draisaitl. And I do want to apologize. I said something in a conversation last week with Eric Dehachek, and he called me on it. And he's absolutely right. Like, I've lumped Draisaitl into that generational player category. He was not. He started the American Hockey League. He had to fight his way. Not that he was never, he was always going to be an NHLer, but he played the American Hockey League. It's not Connor. He was not Connor Bedard. He was not the first overall pick that immediately started in the league. So I do need to be a little careful about how I use that word generational player, but I think Draisaitl might be the best non-generational player in history. How about that? Let's go with that. It needs to piss off the Calgary dressing room every time somebody fawns over this team on television. They need to be going to Best Buy to replace TVs on a weekly basis because it was on TSN and they were talking about how great Skinner and Nurse and Bloomberg or whoever, Broberg or whatever, Bouchard, and somebody put their stick through it or somebody fired a skate through it. This organization needs to hate Edmonton. This fan base will be right there with them. They need to beat them. They're the team when you go back to find a way to make nights difficult, find a way to make Edmonton's life difficult. And this is not hacking at the knees of Connor McDavid. This is the old, we put a bounty out on, head punk and chief whatever, McCrack. No, this is not that. It's not Slapshot. But whatever this incarnation of the National Hockey League is, they need to be fueled by a white-hot hatred of anything in the provincial capital. And that needs to drive them. 10 things I think. Guess how many there are up there? Jack, how many did we put?
There is only 9, Rob.
Me. There's only 9 up there. There's only 9. But if you got so fired up that you had to count the points and go, well, this doesn't make any sense. You said 10, but you only have 9. That's the point. That's the beauty of this. There are only 9 things that I really think I think. But the title says 10. If you know, you know. Carla MacLeod coming up in a couple of minutes. Let's drop hockey for a second. Just a second. I do want to go back before Carla comes on. What an abject disaster, tire fire, embarrassment the end of the Blue Jays season was, the 2-game sweep to Minnesota. But if you thought that was bad, Ross Atkins said, hold my beer. Let me do a press conference on a long weekend on a Saturday, and I'm going to frickin' throw the manager under the bus. What a gutless cowardice, complete lack of leadership. 2 things that come out of this. One, I mentioned 20 years ago, I mentioned Joe Sports, and I mentioned, the run that the Flames were on. While at the same time, the Stampeders were owned by Michael Federick and run by Fred Fitteri. And Joe got into a little trouble because one day he did a rant and he said, burn your tickets. And he was just being facetious and he was having some fun with it, but people took it the wrong way. And that became a kind of a calling card running gag. Let's go with that on 960 for better part of a year. If I'm a Jays season ticket holder, burn my frickin' tickets. Send the ashes in an envelope to that man right there. The reason I am showing you this story, the reason that I am showing you Shai Davidi's work is I want to point something out. And this is going to get me into a little hot water, and that's fine. And this is going to get a certain segment of the population a little upset, and that's cool because we should be uncomfortable at the best of times. Shai Davidi and that guy are paid by the same group. They work for the same corporation. They likely go to the same Christmas party. Probably not, but could. I get really angry when people read something or listen to something or hear something and it doesn't jive with what they have to say or think. And they go, oh, you're just carrying water for the, you're just, Well, we know who pays who pay. Like, you got an agenda. No, they don't. I got no agenda. Shai Davidi, if you go and read this article, this was as brilliant a takedown of a clown, and that I have no other word for Ross Atkins than clown. Sorry, I know I try to avoid that. I try nuance and context. Clown. I'm going to use the word clown. And they both work for the same group. And they both, so don't come crawling and crying and going, oh, it's the media, the media, the media. I hate that BS. You know what the problem in the world right now is? The problem in the world right now might simply be that we don't have good media literacy. If somebody writes something you don't like, that doesn't mean they have an agenda. And I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. Both work for Rogers. And I don't have a lot of great things to say about Rogers. But there's some, and we'll get into it in a little while, but there's some things sometimes where they said, oh, you shouldn't say that or you shouldn't do that. But I did what I wanted. Shai Davidi wrote what he had to write. Interesting when Mark Shapiro speaks. By the way, that's tomorrow. Jays have been out for 10 days, but the president will show up. What just an absolute gong show, clown show. And so if I'm talking about Sportsnet for a second, or Rogers, you want leadership? Read Elliot Friedman's 32 Thoughts. There's a piece in there, I think it's number 1, where Mark Scheifele talks about Andrew Ladd, former hitman who just retired. You want to talk about leadership? There's an example of leadership. Free plug for Friedman. Go read the piece. But what Ross Atkins did on Saturday is unacceptable. It's cowardice. It's gutless. A leader leads. It may have been it may have been the manager's decision. It may have been his decision. But you throw yourself on the grenade. That's what a leader does. And I want transparency. You can explain to me, but you don't go, I found out when you did. No, you didn't. And everybody knows you didn't. And everybody knows you didn't. All right. Because I can't quite see. Do we have our guest, Jack?
Yes, we do.
Oh, perfect. Okay, excellent. So she's heard enough of me whining and complaining. We go to our guest, brought to you by Ski Cellar Snowboard, skicellarsnowboard.com. 76 years in Calgary. 76 years in Calgary. You know who won't be in Calgary? Our next guest. Not this winter, but she'll come back, I'm sure. 2 locations open right now, McLeod Trail by Chinook Center, Bow Ridge Road Northwest. 2 more locations will open up as soon as the snow flies. Of course, the best in skis, snowboards, snow skates, and all the equipment and the clothing that goes with it. Ski Cellar Snowboard, skicellarsnowboard.com. Alberta Sports Hall of Fame, the Olympian medalist, gold medalist. But to me, the title that best suits our next guest is my favorite hockey coach in all hockey right now. Carla MacLeod joins us. The new head coach, the spanking brand new, still sparkling, got new coach smell around her of the Ottawa franchise in the, I get it mixed up. This is, okay, the league is the PWHL?
You got her. Yep.
All right. Okay. I get mixed up on little things. But before we get to that, I want you to put your Olympian hat on, because as Katrina LeMaydon once told me, once an Olympian, always Olympian. You're never an ex-Olympian. I thought this was really interesting this week. Los Angeles announced new sports that are coming to the Olympics. What do you think of this lineup? What is it, as a former, or as an Olympian? What do you think of flag football? I believe cricket, baseball, and softball are coming back, but we're adding new sports. Is that a good thing, Carla?
I think it's a great thing, Rob. Yeah, I think anytime you can get sport to the highest level, and that typically has a great trickle down effect. You look at this list of sports; it's worldwide. So you're continuing to unite the world at that level. And again, I think the fresh and the new always sort of naturally bring a new audience as well. So, in a world where we're trying to keep people active and keep people engaged in sport, I'm all for bringing more sports into the Olympics and further spotlighting them.
What do you think of some of the adaptations we made? And rugby sevens is the best example I can come up with, right? That, we took rugby and then rugby sevens grabbed everybody's attention. 3-on-3 basketball, I believe, is an option as well. As a hockey person, do you think there's a potential for 3-on-3 hockey at the Olympics at some level?
Yeah, I think, given sort of what the history is there, to your point, and I think curling's another example where they've been able to sort of carve out another niche within it, that I wouldn't be surprised if hockey went that route. The purists wouldn't love it, but I think as long as the original's still intact and serving its purpose, why not be creative? It's a different game, 3-on-3. It might highlight different athletes and different styles. So, again, for me, in my experience at the Olympic Games, and I know how impactful it was on me as an athlete and still to this day as a coach and as a person. Boy, if more people get that opportunity to chase that dream and that goal, I don't see a lot of negative with it, as long as they're willing to press more medals and sell more tickets, which I'm sure they're in line with. Good things can happen with growing all the sports.
Well, I'm excited. Obviously, lacrosse and squash were the other two that I forgot. Lacrosse, I'm very curious to see, but it's the flag football. I got to be honest with you. The flag football really intrigues me because of many reasons, but growing that sport and making that sport more attractive, to allow women to play it, but also to give kids an alternative in a safer environment. There's a lot of reasons to look in that and hope that's successful.
Yeah, for sure. And just how great football is, like just the game of the movement of the game and the strategy behind it. And, to your point of the safety piece that comes along with the flag side of it, I could see it being a really engaging event. And I know as Canadians, we love team sport. So adding more team sport is always advantageous as a Canuck.
Yeah. Let's get into some hockey. Obviously, I want to spend a lot of time talking about starting something from scratch. But I am curious, if you were talking to Ryan Huska tonight ahead of his first game behind the bench for points for the Calgary Flames, what advice would you give him? Sure, every coach comes in after somebody. Every coach is always, except for you in one case, and we'll get to that, but most coaches are coming in replacing. But what advice do you have for a coach that's starting that journey and putting their own stamp on something?
Well, I'm not sure I'd frame it as advice. I think he's well versed and well prepared for this opportunity, and that's why he's been allotted it. I can, to my own experience, I think the biggest challenge is being comfortable being who you are and not trying to impersonate anyone that's been before you or anyone that might be impacting you or around you, and having the confidence in yourself that, a season isn't won or lost in a game, and just getting comfortable behind the bench and making sure your team's feeling as confident as they can feel. So, I think the biggest thing is not putting more emphasis on this game than there needs to be. It really is just another game. And for everyone at the professional level, NHL and otherwise, they're so veteran in that experience that I don't foresee that being a concern. And I think, at the end of the day, he's shaping that group to be the best version that they can be. And I'm excited to see, how he rolls into this and fits into this new role for himself, and thrilled and excited that he's got this opportunity.
One last one on the National Hockey League. Is there one storyline, anything that you're watching in particular this year? I mean, obviously Connor Bedard had a debut last night, and there's a lot of hype around that. Connor McDavid and the Oilers, there's a lot of hype there. For me, it seems like, where are we going now? Like, what's the next? We got a lot of young players. We got a lot of talent. Where's this game evolving to? Is there any one particular NHL story you're paying attention to?
Well, I wish I had time, Rob, to pay attention. I'm pretty entrenched right now with making sure the Calgary Dinos are in a good spot. That Czech has their national team set up, and we're ready to go in November. And of course, the training camp with Ottawa that's coming down the pipe pretty quickly here. But I think when the start of the NHL season, what I always look to see is those teams that went far into the playoffs. Like, how do they continue pushing their team game? Because I think that's why they get there. So, the one-off stories at this point of the season tend to be about individuals. And I think that makes sense for a lot of reasons. But I'm always naturally pulled into sort of the team side of the game. So, with Vegas raising the banner and trying to go after another Stanley Cup, how can they dig in and keep getting more out of one another and evolving the team side of it? So that's where my eye will naturally go with the NHL. But, to the opening of my answer there, I've got a few other things on my plate right now that have kept me from really digging into the start of the NHL season.
Yeah, no kidding. Let's dive into that. I'm gathering by your background that you're either moving out or moving into a new office. Are you settling in Ottawa yet? I'm
still in Calgary. I'm at the University of Calgary right now, and we're a minimalist approach when it comes to decorating in our office. We like to keep it clean and tidy, Josh and I. So this is actually my everyday working office, but we try to keep it clean and make it a nice area so we can think and work, not worry about the clutter. So we're in a pretty good spot that way.
Let's talk about the Dinos, because you're not officially stepping away. It's more of a sabbatical, right? Is that how we would word your relationship with the team?
Well, I can tell you from the onset of all this that came down pretty quickly at the start of September. Ben Matchett, who's our athletic director here at U Calgary, has been just nothing short of supportive and understanding of what this opportunity means to me personally, and obviously. For me to be a part of this next step in the women's game is really a dream that I didn't know I had until early September when it was presented. So yeah, the university has been so supportive and making sure that I'm in the right spot and in a great spot. And obviously then, elevating Josh Gosling from our associate head coach to interim head coach has been a nice maneuver as well. And I'm really excited for him to take over this program and to continue to be a key driver in it. And Kelty Apperson, who's been a volunteer coach with us for 2 years, is going to step into a more full-time assistant coaching role. So really fortunate that the community here has rallied around, this decision that I've made, because I knew I was negatively impacting some people and my choices was going to impact others. But to know we've got a great team around us has really given me peace of mind as I venture off to Ottawa here shortly.
My understanding too is that you have a pretty impressive recruited class coming in too, don't you?
Well, again, I'll give a lot of credit to Josh. He's the eye that picks out talent. I would tell you it's probably one of my weaker parts of the game. I really like the team side of the game and that. So Josh has certainly helped us draw in some really great young players here, some first years this year that are having impact early in our season. And of course, that'll continue as the root system grows for him being here and building that out. So yeah, the future is really bright for the Dinos, and they've got a number one fan built in me, and I can't wait to continue to watch them and support them as they chase the goals and dreams that we've talked about.
You've mentioned it a couple of times that the opportunity in Ottawa came in September. So how did you find out? Who reaches out? How does one become a coach of an inaugural team?
Yeah, you have to be fortunate. So I was definitely fortunate. The general manager, Mike Hirschfeld, he reached out to me in early September, just expressed some interest in maybe connecting with me and seeing where my head was at, and if I'd be interested in joining Ottawa in the PWHL. And you know me well enough, Rob. Calgary's home, and I'm here for a reason. My family's here. I've got a great job at the university. I'm also working with Czech, so things are in a pretty good spot in my world. So I can actually confirm that off the top. I was like, I'm not sure I want to do this, but obviously through some conversation with Mike and others in my world, it kind of became clear that this was a pretty unique opportunity and one that I'm really privileged to be a part of. And again, to have the support of Ben here at the university and Josh and even my team. When I told the team here that I was going to pursue this opportunity, obviously a little bit of shock because they didn't know that was going to be the case.
Mhm.
But in the same breath, pretty excited for me as a person, as a coach. So yeah, after some conversation with Mike, it became pretty clear that this was going to be a really unique opportunity and one that I'd kind of be a fool not to jump at. So made that decision and truly have been excited since that moment.
What's the first thing you do then when you get together with your general manager? You have no players. You really don't have a name. You don't have colors. I mean, there's a lot of things, but what's job number one?
Yeah, for us at that point, we had Mike had gone ahead and signed the 3 players: Emily Clark, Brand Jenner, and Emmerich Smashmeyer. So we knew we had those three players locked in, which is a really great starting point. Mike did a tremendous job that way, and really, he not only talked about the importance of building a great culture. I think he brought in three women that value it highly and are very impactful in creating it. So a real nice starting point for any coach. So I'm clearly going to benefit from that. But we were just about a week away from the draft. So the next step was just preparing for the draft and ensuring that when we were at that table, we had our plan and we're really confident with the direction we wanted to go. So a lot of phone calls, a lot of Zoom calls, a lot of homework done. There's a big width of players there that you had to do some homework on. So it was a really neat process for me. Obviously, never been a part of one before. So just sort of navigating that and learning different details about how drafts work and, snake drafts in particular. So, we got there to Toronto. We were able to name another 15 people to our team, another 15 women. So pretty exciting, pretty quick first couple of weeks, but truly enjoyable and really rewarding.
What went into the decision making? Because I mean, you can't just take best available. You have to have some eye towards a game plan, some eye towards a culture, some eye towards how this team will play. So how did you go about making your decisions?
Yeah, it was a collective group. Mike had assembled a really great team for our Ottawa table and those of us doing the homework. And there's an angle from an analytics perspective. So we were making sure we understood that side of different players' games. Obviously, you do your homework as as players and as people. But maybe the neat part for us is we had a gentleman in our group who's well versed in Major League Baseball drafts, and he and Mike have a relationship, having built a AAA team in Ottawa many years ago. And Joe was able to sort of help us ensure that we are doing our homework consistently and making sure that things aligned accordingly. But maybe more importantly, just kind of gave us a line of sight to maybe rhythm of drafts. So, is there a run on position and details like that? And then to your point, Rob, we're constantly being reminded, we're not making a national team. It's not a week-long competition here. This is a long-term process that you have to take in different variables. So, at the end of the day, every team in this league is really, really good. So I think everyone would have taken sort of their angle to the draft. And, I think everyone walked away from that day thinking they were in a great spot, which I think we all are. So it's going to be a highly competitive league, but certainly just learning the ins and outs of maybe how the draft could work and did work was really fun for me.
I am very curious about what you learned about the overall player pool. There's a reason there's 6 teams, and I think we all appreciate that. You have to grow responsibly, properly, and all of those sort of things. But you go through a draft, and then there's players who didn't get drafted or didn't get drafted. You go through free agency. Carla, conceivably, how many teams could this league have started with and been competitive with?
Yeah, like to your point, I respect why it's at 6, and I think it's the right starting point to ensure that the game is being played at the right level, and community engagement and all those details can be managed and built out well. I don't think anyone wants this league to be good. I think we all want it to be great. With that said, I've got to hope that expansion will come when the time is right, and I think you could get to 12 teams pretty quickly and still have an incredibly high caliber of play, especially if the world folds into this league like we think. And you look at the NCAA and U Sport and the sort of the age group under, there's enough women playing in the world at a really high level that I think you can get to 12 comfortably pretty quickly.
What's the I don't recruitment's the wrong word, but the conversations, the initial conversations. I mean, it's exciting and all, but there was a league and then there wasn't a league and there was, a little bit of turmoil. What's the overall, I guess, conversation like with the players right now? I mean, a lot of people had their lives kind of turned upside down or thought they were doing this and now they're doing that. Has it been somewhat chaotic to talk to players?
Yeah, I think everyone sort of maybe entered into this league from a different storyline. I think those that were playing in the PHF who thought they had signed with teams and were going to have a regular season and knew where they were going to play, to have that pulled away from them at a late moment created some uncertainty for sure. But, I think, we can all rest assured that through the hardship always comes some better days. And this is a league that feels like none other that I've ever seen. And, we needed all those previous leagues and iterations and, all those great people that tried so hard to get the sport off the ground. We needed those moments to get to this one. And, but this one feels different. And it's, there's a validity to it and a business structure to it that maybe, I haven't seen before. So I think through the ups and downs, we're back to the up and a lot of excitement around this league for sure.
So with that said, one more kind of technical roster question. With no feeder system, with no minor league system, what do you do to counter injuries and how big a taxi squad will you have access to?
Yeah, my understanding is we'll have a 23-woman roster, and then we have the capacity to carry 2 more reserve players that are in the community. So should we get into sort of injury trouble, there's a bit of a depth chart there that will help us work through it. It's not going to be, we're not playing an 82 game season. We're going to play, in the 24 to 28 range game count. So that makes it a little bit more manageable as well. But yeah, to your point, I think that's the long-term vision too, is can you get to a point where you do get a farm system and you can continue, allowing more and more women to play at the pro level when they're out of college. Because, up until this point, it was very, very difficult as a female hockey player to play beyond college if you weren't involved in your national team. So, there's an excitement, and I use that word a lot, but it's genuine. There's an excitement to what the possibilities could become if we can get the PWHL to the level we know it's suitable for.
I understand. I'm just throwing theories out there, and I'm not trying to, get you to comment or commit to anything. But having worked with a domestic basketball league, and I've seen the connection to U Sport, and I see the CPL's connection to U Sport. Do you think that somewhere down the line, your 2 worlds could kind of combine?
Yeah, I hope so. Like that's always the goal. And I think from a lot of different ways, like one would be, U Sport players getting drafted and playing in this league. And we've already shown there's a handful that have done that in the first ever draft. So there's that path for sure. But I also see it as, I'm in a Canadian market with 2 universities that have great women's hockey programs and athletic departments. And, how do you forge that rapport and that relationship to ensure that there's a connection, I'm preaching to the choir here with you, Rob, and recognizing the value of community in all of these endeavors. And certainly that won't be lost on us in Ottawa. And I think that's one of the most exciting pieces about going to Ottawa is I know there's a rich community there. Whether you look at it from the history of women's hockey, they hosted the first ever world championship in 1990, to just being in a great sport market. And that I think has an energy around supporting our team and building something great together. That's what I get excited about.
Well, I know I'm ecstatic for Heroes Hockey in Ottawa because they get 2 of the best, you and Emily Clark. Like right away, Ottawa Heroes wins.
We're both excited about it too. So you're not wrong. We win as well.
Exactly. Let's get into some of the nerdy coaching stuff. what kind of resources will you have? What kind of staff do you want to put together? Where do you start?
I give a lot of credit again to our general manager, Mike. He's been doing the heavy lifting on this side of things, but I'm thrilled at the fact that we have a filled out staff. Like it's professional, and the resources are going to be there for our players. The resources are going to be there as a coaching staff. So to your point, it's been sort of the busiest part of Mike's days, I believe, and certainly I've been able to tag in on some of that as well. But really thrilled that that's the bar. Like the level's starting incredibly high, and that's what the dream was, in all honesty. So we've been able to work through our coaching staff here. We I'm sure it'll be announced in the coming days, but just really pleased with the fact that we've got some incredible people: strength and conditioning, athletic therapy, mental performance, equipment managers. Like all these people are going to be coming into our fold in Ottawa, and we're going to have get the opportunity to figure out how we all work together, and then ultimately never losing sight of how do we make sure the women are at their best. So yeah, it's going to be done the right way, and that's a truly a great piece for the game and for all of us involved in it.
Analytics, video, access to all of those sort of things.
Correct. Yeah, I didn't. You're right. Those are also included. Yep.
Wow. Your strength, as I see it, is building culture and creating that positive environment for a player to play in. You start from scratch. What's job number one in terms of creating the culture that you and the general manager want in Ottawa?
It's I've said it on sort of every interview I've ever done, or anytime I've ever spoke about being a coach. The privilege is the people. So I got to learn our people, and that's the primary objective here over the next couple of weeks heading into training camp. We've just drafted an email that'll be sent to our players, so that as a coaching staff we can learn who they are as people and who do they see themselves as players. That's an important piece as we start to navigate our way through training camp. But the same has to be said for our staff. I've got to learn who they are and how do they be at their best. What do they need from us? And I think a lot of people assume we're just sitting here drawing breakouts and forechecks, but deep down that'll come later. Right now it's about who are they and how do we become Ottawa together, and how do we ensure that everyone's feeling valued and recognize that everyone's contributing to where we want to go, and we're going to need everyone in order to get to where we want to go.
All right, here's the nerdy culture question. How difficult is it not to have a name and not to have colors when you're building culture?
Well, it makes my PowerPoints harder because I don't know what background to make them. But you know what, Rob? Like that's to me, there's a plan probably there as well. And at this point, if I had to hand sew the jerseys that our team had to wear for us to play in this league and be given this opportunity, I would do it. I'm not great at it. I'm not sure they'd fit. But I think, that stuff is always fun. And I think, maybe there's a community piece there too. I'm not sure what the plan is, but I know for certain, if we've got Ottawa written across our jerseys, we know who we are, and we'll build towards that. So I think that stuff's all exciting, and when it comes about, it's going to be great. But I'm not losing sleep over that at this point.
No, I gather that, but it is part of it, though, right? Like when you coach an Olympic team, you're that country. You're playing for that country. When you're coaching the Dinos, you have that tradition. Everything's new. Like there is no tradition. You are the tradition. And to me, I'd be going snaky not knowing what my nickname or my mascot is by now.
Well, I'll let you know once we know, though. I'll let you know so you can sleep at night then.
Okay, that's good. Okay. Now a serious question. How does one flip the switch to professional? There have been incarnations. You've talked about that. There's no higher level than the Olympics and representing your country. I get that. But in North America, it's different when you're a professional athlete. What has to happen to turn that switch?
Yeah, and I think to that question, it's a great question, Rob, and I think it's something that's been bouncing around in my brain for since I got the job, because I'm going to be learning too. I haven't been given this opportunity before to coach professionally, so at the professional level. And so it's not lost on me that it's new. And I've, I've already made some phone calls to people that I know that have been in the NHL and asked sort of, what are the nuances? Some have been involved with the national team before and now they're with the NHL. So I've been picking their brain to make sure that, I'm on the right track. And, there's little pieces, little nuggets of information that, make me think a little bit differently. I can talk to you about strength and conditioning. I just connected with Ryan Van Asten this morning, who was with the Flames for a long time, and he was our strength coach in 2010. So, what does it look like at that level? Do they train as a team? Do they train as individuals? What's the volume? So I'm trying to do my homework too, because it's not lost on me that I don't know all the answers. So certainly I think the biggest piece is ensuring, one, that when the women arrive to camp, they have a feel. There's a feel there that is different than anywhere else they've ever played. And Mike and I and our staff are doing a lot of work there to make sure that's the case. And then, what, we're going to learn together. And there's going to be things we're going to try as a staff that maybe doesn't connect with the players. There's going to be things players want that maybe as a staff we think, no, that's not the right lane. And we just have to work together. And that's, back to your point about culture. You have to have those lines of communication and that trust factor between the two, that we can figure this out collectively.
Do you and the other coaches, other management teams, the league get together very often? Are you having conversations about officiating, rule play, gameplay, anything like that? Has there been much communication at a league level amongst coaches?
Not for the coaches yet. I think they're working through sort of the general manager stuff here, and I think they're connecting regularly. And then obviously I hear it from Mike then on variables that I need to be aware of. But I suspect that'll be coming down the way as we get closer and closer to playing.
Brian Burke coming on board and being attached to the league, what does that mean? How does his reputation impact the start?
Yeah, I think it goes two ways. I always think, when you can bring great people in like Brian, who's always been a staunch supporter of the women's game and hockey being for everyone, that there's a credibility that comes along with that. But I think the other side of that is, he wanted to be a part of this as well. So there's a validity to what he saw within the league and the opportunity that presented itself that way. So, I think the PWHL has done an incredible job in drawing in, people from different lines of work. And it wasn't just sort of maybe what you might have predicted as far as, those that are involved in the league and those who are wanting to be involved in the league. So, yeah, I think, having even Brian at the draft, like any of us that are hockey people, it's nice to see him there. And, it never hurts to have great people continuing to drive our game. And he's certainly one of them.
This is all fresh, obviously, and all new. I'm curious, though, about what your national team commitment looks like and how you mentioned how the UFC players took it, but I'm assuming we're going to see internationals in the league. I'm assuming that this has been met with positive news by management in Czechia. But what was the reaction when they found out?
Yeah, they were great too. They're really, really excited knowing that, I would be given this opportunity personally, and that, obviously our players then would have a chance, not because I'm there, but just because the league's in existence, that our players at Czech have the chance to play professional hockey in North America. And again, we've never seen this. We've never seen the best in the world playing together. We've always seen the best in the world playing against one another. And, having worked with Czech now for just over a year, I'm thrilled to see, what is it like? We've got two players in Montreal. What's it like to practice against Poulin every day? We got two players in Ottawa. Well, now you're skating with Emily Clark and Jenner and Harmon and all these players that they've always sort of looked up to and thought, wow, they're going to quickly learn, hey, well, I get to play with them. So I think what it's going to do for the game internationally is exactly what it did for the men's game. It bridges it and it closes the gaps quicker. And that's what our sport's been waiting on. And, we haven't had the chance until now. So, we're going to see the international game grow because of this league as well. And that's a great thing for the game around the world.
See, I'm glad you brought that up because, you and I watched Haley Wickenheiser stand up and, go to toe with Rennie Fissell and others who said maybe we have to reconsider if it's just Canada and the US, but there was never a top league. There was never a pro league. And unfortunately, we had to watch basketball and soccer do it. That is like it's conceivable that the water table will rise to a point where it won't always just be the two teams, right?
100%. And you do your homework in men's hockey. There was two teams for the longest time until the NHL sort of bridged the gap. Like,
Yep.
Really, go down a few paths on this answer, but in Olympic sport, there tends to be dominant nations within different realms. Bobsled's been, sliding sport's been dominated by Germany for years and years. So, women's hockey is not vastly different from other sports. But the reality is the model that was women's hockey, when you're relying on your federations to fund everything in order to grow the game, that's not the design of federations. That's not how it works. And so to now have these women invested in every day by entities that want to invest in them, meaning the pro league, it's only going to build players. It's going to help them in training. It's going to help them in resource. It's going to help them on every facet of their development. And that's what the game needed. And we were overdue for this opportunity, but just grateful now that it's here and we can leverage it.
How much does this league need to connect itself, not necessarily to the past recent pro leagues? And I should know this, and I don't know what the history is in Ottawa, but I think of Judy Diddick and the Edmonton Chimos, right? All of those years of being that kind of that standalone team that, carried the flag. How important will it be for this league to pay homage or connect itself to those type of trailblazers?
I think it's critical, Rob. I haven't had a moment since this league's been announced that I haven't thought of Judy Diddick or Shirley Cameron or Kathy Berg, all women from Alberta that were the reason I got to do what I did, and they're across this world. And so, again, you never want to forget where you came from. And without those women driving the boat, and they did what they did in their era to get us to this point. And, there's been some heavy lifting here in the recent years, certainly to help the PWHL get to become what it is. And again, grateful to those women and that group of people, men and women that have driven it. But yeah, I'm with you, Rob. I think there needs to be a lot of credit paid to a lot of people along the way. Look at Mel Davidson investment in the game, and the roster. It's almost dangerous to start name dropping, but to me, there's a root system that is so rich, and that we don't want to lose. We don't lose sight of that. And to your point, I think it's important that we recognize as much as we can moving forward the women that came before us.
A couple more for you. This one's a little bit personal. It was a year ago, almost this weekend, that you spoke at Hockey Inspire's coaching day for Hockey Calgary, and Kevin Hodgson from Heroes asked you a question about, where you wanted to coach. And you, did you want to coach the NHL, or you said, no, I want to coach in women's professionally. I want to coach the best women in the world. Subsequently, some guy just keeps bringing your name up all the time because he doesn't understand why you're not in the NHL, but that's neither here nor there. You now achieved that goal. Is that a plateau? Is there a new goal? I mean, I know you just got it. You haven't coached a game, but, I'm reminiscent of, geez, I always wanted to get here. Now I'm here. Now what do I do? Have you realigned your goals in life? What do you want to do now? I mean, you still have to coach, I guess.
Well, I have to try not to get fired in 1 year. Got lots to prove. So there's that reality. I think my goal in that answer, actually, Rob, was I want to help grow the women's game, and I want to be one of the people that helps the women's game continue to get to the level that we all believe it should be and could be and will be. And so, for me, I couldn't have had this dream. I didn't know this league was going to be in existence a year ago. So, I think for me, my approach has always been, in every program I've been a part of, is one, value the people you get to work with and learn from them. And that's not going to be any different. I'm going to do that in Ottawa as well. And then the thought process internally for me has always been never get outworked. And, I'm excited to roll up my sleeves here and get back to work. And there's a lot of lifting to be done by myself, our staff, and our players. So, to me, the goals aren't so there may be a little bit more organic now, where I couldn't have dreamt to be the head coach of the Dinos. I couldn't have dreamt to be the head coach of Czech. I had no idea that was coming my way. I didn't know this was. So the only thing I can kind of do is just continue to work hard and try to make the most of the opportunities to just really engage the groups, and who knows where life takes me at the end of the day. But I'm certainly privileged and humbled to be in the position I'm in, and to my original point, need to do a good job here so I can retain my role.
Well, fair enough. You are a professional coach now. All right.
Yeah, that's right.
From a league standpoint, what needs to happen in year one? Because there have been other leagues, but they've never had, Canadian Tire step up and say, we believe in equity and we're going to support. We've never had these things in place. But what should we look for in year one that will, really help launch or really help build the platform in a very concrete, significant manner?
Well, I think one is the product, and that's on us that are involved in producing that product to make sure that it's at the level that is engaging and enjoyable. And, again, I don't worry about that. You look at the players that are in this league. If you're a hockey fan, you're going to love this. And, I think beyond that, it's making sure that the communities feel involved and a part of it. And I think anytime you feel like you're a part of something, you're far faster to support it. And, this day and age, life is expensive. So there's got to be value to where you're going to put your money and why you're going to put your money there. And I think that's the job of our franchises, to make sure that there's a value tethered to the experience. And that's a complex sort of entity, but I think there's a lot of potential there. And we need people to support it. So, that's my other hope, is that those people that love, every 4 years when the Olympics are going on, or love going to NHL games, they'll give it a chance to say, hey, well, let's go to this, let's go to this and see what it's about. Cause I'm a firm believer when people see it live and they're part of the experience, it's not a tough setback.
This is going to be a bit of a weird one, so bear with me. Working with the Calgary Surge this year in the CBL. Oh, it's a nice Canadian league for Canadian players, but it was the target score. Everybody fell in love with the target score. So it wasn't Canadian anymore. It wasn't a nice league anymore. It was, this is cool. How quickly do you think we can get to a point with your league where we're actually talking about, I loved it when everybody was mad at the American women's soccer players because they ran up the score and they were fist pumping because it was controversy. We weren't talking about, oh, they deserve a chance. We're talking about the sport, like the good, the bad, everything that comes with it. How quickly do you think we can get to a point where, I'm calling you up and going, geez, you got a real rivalry with Toronto and I can't believe they did that to you. How bitter that, that's the place I want to get to, Carla.
Well, and we can get there, Rob, because just call me up and I'll happily talk about it with you. And we need people like you to wholeheartedly invest in it. The voice needs to be heard and the narrative needs to be shared. And, there's platforms out there that have that capacity and they're far reaching. And again, if I can sit here and listen to NHL and men talk about men's hockey, I don't know why, the world can't sit there who love the game and just enjoy hockey being talked about, men's or women's. And that's where we're getting to. And, the stories need to continue to be told. There needs to be platforms at which it's highlighted. But I can't wait for the day that, people are trying to figure out, our 6 defenders on Ottawa and why are they playing with each other and why isn't so and so. The minute we do that, that means we're just respecting the game. And, we haven't been given that chance to share that narrative because we've never had this opportunity before. But I hope media outlets run with it. And I hope it's something that, becomes just a very standard norm, no different than what the NHL has become.
I'm going to hold you to that. I can't wait for that one call where I go, Carla, why are you playing with 2D on the power play? Everybody knows you play with 4 forwards, right?
Call me. I'm game.
Listen, really excited about this. I know obviously it's under lock and key. You kind of mentioned we should think around a little under 30. Do you know when you're going to start? When camps are? Do you have at least an understanding of the timelines?
Yeah, we know camp's going to start middle of November. So November 15th will be the start of camp.
Okay.
And then that, essentially 3 weeks-ish long. There's different phases to it for sure. And then the league will start early January. So I'm not sure if it'll be as quick as January 1st, but it's going to be right in and around there. And, it's going to be a real exciting time. So, yeah, the timelines are starting to come about, and certainly we're planning around them. And, just look forward to getting all the women in Ottawa and getting our staff together and starting to figure out, who is this Ottawa team and what are we going to be about. So certainly lots of things coming our way pretty quickly here, but I couldn't have asked for anything better. It's going to be quite a ride.
And I don't know why I thought of it just now, but is there a potential somewhere down the line of bringing in national teams to play the pro teams? Like, would you want to bring your team in and play an exhibition? You remember the old, New Year's Day, New Year's Eve in Montreal, right? Arguably one of the greatest games ever played was a non-NHL team and an NHL team. Could we see something like that?
I guess that, the sky's the limit in what could be. I think the challenge there is that, this league's full of national team players. So if you pull them off to put them on the national team, who's left on the team? Yeah. So you might run short of players that way. But, I think there's going to be a lot of unique opportunities, certainly within the game and within this league and the international game. So, yeah, I'm just excited to see where the next step lies. Because, again, like I said many times, like we weren't 100% confident this step was going to come about. So the fact that we're here is a thrill. And then, where it's going to lead to is actually, I can't wait to see it just as a fan.
Well, I'm excited. I'm excited to find out what your name is. I mean, I hope it's not too late to vote. Like, I think Ottawa Fighting Squirrels would be perfect. I think that would be amazing. Doesn't matter. I'll get
send that to my email. Yeah.
I will indeed. Hey, listen, so happy for you. So excited. I know it's all going to work out. Really, I think it's all like I could spend all day just the starting of something and building it from the ground up is so exciting to me. So I hope you enjoy that. And I we'll check in on you all winter. Don't worry about that, but continued success and congratulations, Carla. This is awesome.
Thanks, Rob. I always appreciate your time and the conversation. So thanks for having me on again. And I do look forward to the next time. So be sure to reach out.
I will. Thanks, Carla.
See ya. Thank you.
Carla MacLeod, the head coach of the currently unnamed Ottawa franchise in the PWHL. Our guest brought to you by Ski Cellar Snowboard, skicellarsnowboard.com, 76 years here in Calgary. 4 locations, 2 open right now, 2. 4 normally in the winter. And what I gather is that Lake Louise is opening early November. So things, and I'm assuming Sunshine and Kicking Horse and everything else subsequently would follow in behind or around or before. So it's not that far off. Ski Cellar Snowboard, skicellarsnowboard.com. Check them out. I'd never get nothing done. Are you kidding me? Starting something from scratch? Whew, never get nothing done. But so excited for Carla. She doesn't get caught up in the minutia, the naming and the colors and things like that. That would drive me absolutely nuts. Let's do this. Jack, I'll kick it over to you. Any questions or comments we want to get to? The Flames opening up the 23-24 regular season tonight. Obviously, the NHL is underway, full slate of games, and then Calgary out on the road pretty quick too. So, before we know it, we'll already be into the minutia of early season hockey. Anything we want to bring up?
Yeah, a couple questions here, Rob, regarding the game tonight, actually.
Okay.
First one, what does Dylan Dubé bring to the Flames first line?
The trust of the coach, who's had him for a while. Speed, tenacity. He's obviously somebody that I think Lindholm and Huberdeau would have been consulted on and said, take a look around. What if we tried Dubé? I felt like, he's the best conditioned athlete on this team, has tested has won the fitness testing 4 years in a row, I think it is. He can score. He lacks, like a lot of Flames did, some consistency last year. But there is if I was going to pick one guy that could pop, I know I said Matt Coronado for the call or whatever. I think Matt Coronado, Mangiapane, they can score. But if somebody in game one could change the fan base's opinion by game 82 and, I didn't think he could be that, or I didn't realize he could evolve into that, I think it's Dylan Dubé. But I think part of it does the relationship with the coach, and then part of it is back to pairs. I always grew up under the 3-line system. You got a left winger, right winger, and a center. I think the Sedins kind of popularized the pairs. Tanguay and Iginla were a pair. Sure, Lanko was there at times. Camilleri and Iginla were a pair. The pairs tend to be where you start now and then you add. So I would not be surprised if Huberdeau and Lindholm have had something to say about that. If you watch the barn burner yesterday, I don't think it's the barn burner. I think it's barn burner with Craig Conroy. He talked about Matt Coronado, right shot. Why isn't he playing the right wing on the first line? I think he's going to get there at some point. Unless Dubé blossoms, as I suggested, maybe he could. I think Coronado will get there. Where I think you get into trouble if it becomes a game-by-game process of who's playing the right side, then you're in trouble. But I think Dubé, he's not a kid anymore. That's English, not good either. He's not a kid anymore. Like he's, again, another guy that seems like, he's just drafted, just came out of the, no, he's been a pro for a while now. And, at some point, who and what are you? Michael Backlund did not blossom until 25, 26, 27. So maybe there might be a part of that in there too. What else you got for me, Jack?
Rob, I know you're not a gambling guy, but the Flames are plus 800 to win the division. Is that a good bet?
Mm-hmm. No. I don't think this team's going to win the division. If they did, yeah, I guess it is a good bet. How are you asking it? Are you asking from the standpoint of, I've got extra money, should I take a flyer on this? Sure. If you're asking me logically, do I believe they are going to be Pacific Division champions? No, I do not. I think it's really competitive. I think Edmonton's going to be a regular season monster unless they go the other way, which is that we're just going to wait till the playoffs. That's the only thing that matters. I think they could be Boston-like, or remember a decade ago, San Jose was just, they were always good in the regular season, couldn't get anything done in the playoffs. I guess that's where I'm looking at, but no, I don't. No, I'm not spending your money on this, if that's what you're asking.
Do the Seattle Kraken take a step back this year?
Taking a step back would suggest that they, so year 3, year 1, they weren't Vegas, right? Year 2, hey, they've had some success. They went somewhere in the playoffs. I was never sold on them last year in the playoffs. There was one game, I think Calgary was in there and they kind of ran their show in their own building, or midway through the season. I think maybe I'm misremembering, but there was nothing impressive to me. I like pieces of it. Kailer Yamamoto is an interesting addition. Shane Wright, and it's funny, we were talking about Draisaitl earlier. Here's Shane Wright, who a year ago was supposed to be number 1 overall, didn't get picked number 1 overall. Got a little bit of time there last year. Is going to start in the minor. Are they going to take a step back? I think they're kind of caught in that same no man's land the Flames have been the last couple of years. Is, could they make it? Yes. Will they make it? I don't know. Are they a playoff team? I'll apply that metric to them. Are they a playoff team? They should be a playoff team. If they don't make the playoffs, I think they should be disappointed. Absolutely. But watching them last night, I thought that, God bless, there's only so much to talk about and only so many new things that can be said. Vegas was a little sluggish off the start in that game against the Kraken last night. The Kraken were out shooting them 5-0. At one point, the broadcasters, and again, I hate to pick on people, but I did chuckle a little bit out loud. Well, they played on Saturday and they played on Sunday. And they got the rings on Sunday, and then they had to, and then they had the ceremony and the Stanley Cup raising and everything. Bang! It's 1-0 Vegas. So much for they're tired. Vegas was good last night. Seattle, it's kind of what I expected. If they had throttled Vegas 4-1 or 5-1, I guess I would have been surprised. I was not surprised. So a long way for me are they going to take a step back? I'll go with Lovie Smith. They are who we thought they were.
Fair enough. Do you think Connor Bedard will be up there with the Draisaitl's, McDavids of the world, or will he be a tier under those guys?
This year, or in terms of his overall?
I think in
career?
Overall, like throughout his career here.
I think he's a generational player. He carries himself as a generational player. I look at Sid, and Sid's definitely a generational player, but he didn't have the gaudy Gretzky or Lemieux like generational player, even the Yager. He had great numbers. Don't get me wrong, and he is a generational player. He just redefined what the generational. He was the generational closest thing to a grinder that a generational player's ever been. Like, Sidney Crosby battles. Yes, I know he yells and complains, and I get that part. But you watch him compete in small areas, and he's fantastic. I think Connor Bedard is going to be closer to McDavid. The Lemieux type. I think there's some gaudy numbers coming there. I really do. Whether or not he's a winner, whether or not he's, a guy that can get people over the hump, or a team over the hump, we'll see. He didn't play on very good Pats teams. Like, there was some thought last year he might get, or rumor or whatever, that he was going to get traded to Kamloops, who had a good team. And, he still has that thing that he has to check on his resume, which is winning, right? World Juniors, I'm talking about with the club team now. But I think he's the real deal. I think he's legitimate. At some point we're going to have that conversation though about, first tier generational player, second tier generational player. Almost what that I owned up to with Eric Tahachuk. What Draisaitl was picked third, I believe. There was two guys picked ahead of him. He was good. A lot of people talking about him, but nobody was saying, "Oh, this is the Leon Draisaitl draft." Like they're not, whatever the funny term would have been. They're not tanking for Leon, or they're not, peeing on Leon or whatever but they were for Bedard, right? They were tanking for Bedard or Connor, or lose for Connor, whatever. And then, Draisaitl starts the American Hockey League, kind of like we were talking about Shane Wright. Draisaitl looks every bit of a generational player right now. But is he Lemieux, Gretzky? He's more Messier to me. Awesome, great, Hall of Famer, first ballot Hall of Famer. Was Messier a generational player, generational leader? Certainly the resume speaks for itself. So I think there's lots of conversations. And the one thing about the National Hockey League, and I'm sure I'm just going off the top of my head here, but in terms of the players that we all, general consensus or 100% consensus is our generational players, have all won. Gretzky won, Lemieux won, Yager won, Crosby won, Ovechkin won. I don't think Kane is necessarily a generational player. I think he's that tier below. Bedard has to win. That's part of the generational player club. It's ridiculous. He hasn't played game 2. I shouldn't be talking about him in the Hall of Fame. There's no reason to think, barring injuries. Now, Eric Lindros. Eric Lindros was a generational player. Got sidelined by injuries. The Eric Lindros that played in Dallas or Toronto late in his career, was a shell of Eric Lindros, the generational player. So injuries can play a role in that. Bedard will be I have no reason to think that Connor Bedard will not be the cover face of video games, will not be on the cover if we still have magazines in 5 to 10 years from now on pools, what do you call them, draft guides and things like that. You just saw the way they toted him around yesterday. This kid has been front and center on everything that has to do with the NHL. So yeah, he will be that tier, should be that tier, barring injuries, barring major setback. Yeah.
Going back to a couple more Flames questions here to round it out. Last year, Markstrom gave up a lot of goals on the first shot of the game. If that happens tonight again, how worried are you?
Very worried. I was worried on Friday in Vancouver. Think of it like the yips. Think of it, if you're like, I'm a really bad golfer, right? Like golf and I decided many, many years ago that we would see other sports and, we're friendly, but we don't talk. But I can tell you that I had whatever the thing is that goes to the left, if it's a slice or the hook or whatever, always had that, always will have that. Went and saw, took lessons, had a great golf coach out at Jamie out at Speargrass, worked his ass off. But I could not help but picking up a driver and hitting, to the left or whatever it is, the slice. And it was because I knew it. I could think about it. That's all I thought about, I should say. I worry post, last season that became such a thing. Oh, no, here we go. We're playing from behind again. Oh, no. And you don't want to let your teammates down. And you do not want everybody, if you ever sat on a hockey bench, I'm assuming most have, and if you've ever just come off a shift and you're doubled over, you can hide your eye line, right? Your eye line can drop below the boards and you don't have to look. I just have this image of the whole team's eye line being right at the boards. Can we look? Oh, what happened? What happened? Oh, went in. Damn it. Here we go. The fact that this question got asked leads me to believe that there will be people at the Dome tonight who will be holding their collective breath when Winnipeg gets the puck and comes across the blue line early in the game. If he stops the first shot tonight, that doesn't solve it. But if he lets it in, man, that's going to be hard to put that toothpaste back in the tube. It really, really is. And then he's got to deal with it. And I'm, all this attention on Huberdeau this summer and all this attention, a lot of talk about Markstrom and, becoming a father and things like that. My guess is he worked really hard on the mental side of all of this stuff. But man, if you get the yips, anybody who's ever had the yips, if you know what I'm talking about, if you're a fly fisherman and you couldn't get that, you can't get that cast over. If you're golf is the easy one, but or you go to throw a football and it slips out of your hand and you can't throw a perfect spiral, whatever. Once you start thinking about stuff, thinking hurts the ball club. As soon as it's in your mind and you're thinking about it, and the worst becomes when everybody else is thinking about it, your teammates, the fans, and it starts happening again. I go back to the 10 things I think. Dude needs to pitch some shutouts early. Needs to get his groove back, needs to get his confidence back, needs to win his fans back, needs to win his teammates back. I don't think his teammates are that. I don't think he probably doesn't need to win his teammates back, but he definitely needs to win part of the fan base back for sure, just based on the question.
Last one for you here. Are the Flames built to come back from behind in games?
Wow. Are they built? That leads me to believe this is a question about mental toughness. Do I believe they can score goals? Yes. Do I believe they can outscore opponents? Yes. Boy, they didn't do a good job of it last year. And then Friday looked a lot like last year. They had lots of time. They had 2 periods to get that game back within one, not even tie it. Let's just say get back. They couldn't do it. They couldn't get that game back within one. does this team have the mental toughness? I believe the captain does. I believe Backlund does. From what I understand, the way he stood up for his teammates, the way I believe he can. Anderson can. Huberdeau, show us. Kadri, we've seen it. Mangiapane, are you healthy? This goes back to the Dubé question from a little while ago. Why is Dubé on the top line? What about Walker Dewar? What about AJ Greer? What about Ruzicka? The mental toughness of this team, the coach, all smiles, great answers, engaging. How do you hold the team accountable? To the point that was made on the previous question, if you fall behind 1-0, 60 seconds into this game, and 59 minutes into the game, it's still 1-0. Are you still pushing? Or in your mind, do you believe that ship sailed after the second intermission? And there were many people who listen. I think I'm. If you listen to this or watch the stream or whatever, you know where I sit on Daryl. Daryl was part of the problem last year, but he wasn't the only problem. Daryl's problem was he couldn't communicate with his team, and that's okay. But part of the responsibility is the team's got to get the message too. You are a professional. I have worked for people that, I have bosses. I've had bosses that I just look at them like, are you serious? Like, what? We talked about Ross Atkins before. I've worked for people who were dumpster fires as leaders. Couldn't lead a 2-car parade. But part of it is I have a responsibility to be professional. I have the responsibility to do the right thing. I have the responsibility to make the right choices in life. I don't think I've done that enough. So where's the accountability that I have? Flames are down by a goal late in the game. They have to show that they've got the mental toughness to come back. They cannot go quietly into the night. This team, this organization, when I did games on Sportsnet, I saw it at its worst. And there's guys on that team that I love and I would do anything for, and I thought the world of, and I thought they're good human beings, but they were too content to go quietly into the night. I go back to the 10 things I think. This has to be a tough team to play against. If you're down by one, then they better know that you're not happy. There better be snot all over them, spittle all over them. There better be welts all over them. Right up to that line of decency and fair play and all those sort of things. So I guess I'm spitting a bit on the question. Do they have the ability to come back? Yeah, they have the ability to come back. Skill is not the issue. It's intestinal fortitude, and it's how quickly can this team absorb a headshot or a body blow and not crumple? We're going to find that out. They're going to go on a long road trip. They're at home tonight against a Canadian opponent who's feeling really good about themselves. They just got 2 of their biggest stars back. I don't remember a preseason which started and finished like this one. And it was against the same opponent. My God, they could do nothing wrong. They just blew out the Abbotsford Canucks 10-0. Holy cow, let's play today. And then last Friday, thank God that the world needs to see the Vancouver Canucks. So we got to see it on television. That's the only way, because it was a Canucks. And it just reeked of 22-23. And that scares the wrong word. Does it scare me? No, it doesn't scare me. But boy, oh boy, you can't play that way. So yeah, can they? Yes, they could come back. Do they have the intestinal fortitude? I think we're all waiting to see that.
Okay, Rob, before we move on, I know this is your favorite part of the show. Prediction for tonight's game. I'm putting my life savings on this. So
yes,
let's go.
You're putting your life savings on this. Okay. So Joe Burrow will, you know what? They finally got off the schneid. I saw this stat today that they're tied for one of the longest season opening losing streaks in the history of the NHL. They snapped it last year. I think they win tonight. I think it's going to be tough. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. But I will go and suggest that this will be a 4-2 Calgary win to start the season. And then we'll see what happens from there. There had better be a lot of energy in that room. There had better be a lot of pent-up aggression. There had better be a lot of playing guilty tonight. And if they do, they'll win this game. Does that help?
Yeah, I'm thinking the same way. If they're not fired up for this one, then it's going to be a long season. So I got the Flames winning as well.
You know, to that end, Jack, it's I know everybody's attention was on Bedard, but it was hard not to look at Pittsburgh last night and go, uh-oh. Like, yeah. I know it's one game. Don't get me wrong. And I've seen that movie before. I have. But holy crap. Like, you know, you just gunned the general manager and Brian Burke. Hextall and Burke got run out of there because they committed to keeping the band back together. And then you brought in the Wonder Kid, who was never going to go any other organization until 10 days later he left Toronto, went to Pittsburgh. And that's okay. I get that. That's fine. I'm just having a little fun to do this at his expense. But they bring in Erik Karlsson. What did he do last night? Jack squat. It's one game, but holy cow. If that's what we see at the Dome tonight, Friday is going to be an interesting show, dude. Friday will be an interesting show.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we should give a little love to Afterburner. Afterburner tonight, right?
Yeah, Afterburner tonight. I believe we'll be live from the Greta Bar right after the game, if everything goes well. So, yeah, look forward to that.
And if it doesn't, it'll still go from there. We should mention that I believe there's still tickets available and still space available at the Greta Bar tonight for the home opener, right?
Yeah, I believe there's still about 50 open spots. Go to nationgear.ca/events, $20. Lots of great prizes, and it's going to be lots of fun.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Let's get into the final mile. Geez, Rob, you've lost your edge. We've gone damn near an hour and 40 minutes, and you haven't brought up Pride Tape yet. But now I'm going to. This story is again, this isn't ranting anymore. Like, I ranted when they took the jerseys away. I lost my shit for, pardon me, tie out a quarter. I lost my crap. I did. So instead of hockey's for everyone, yeah, we'll just take a pass on the Pride stuff and the other stuff. Hey, we can't do Pride. We can't do the other stuff. So we just won't do it. Why? Why would you do that? Well, we know why they didn't do it. We'll get to that in a second. Let's start with Pride Tape. Pride Tape, by the way. I met Jeff, who's one of the guys behind Pride Tape. He's up in Edmonton. Pride Tape put out a statement a couple of days ago. So for those who don't know, the National Hockey League has said, nope, we're not allowing expression of causes, and you can do anything you want off the ice, but on the ice. And part of that is Pride Tape. Now, in fairness, quality tape, I think it was always used as a warm-up tape and that sort of thing. You know, and Pride Tape put out a statement here a day ago. It's the platform, right? It was always about the platform. Now, since this whole, the NHL can't get out of its own way crap, lots of people have reached out to Pride Tape. I want to be really, really clear on this, and very clear on this. I know people who work at the NHL. I know people who work with the clubs. This is not them. This is not them. It affects them, but this should not reflect upon the staff, the people who work in the departments that are connected to growing and outreach to Hockey's for Everyone, that put on these programs, that put on the mobile museums and things like that. This is a handful of owners who got really, really nervous. I'm going to screw around on you here, Jack, so get ready. Let's throw Salim's tweet up from TSN yesterday. if you don't mind, because I'll go there next. This all comes back. You remember last year we had the teams say, "Oh, well, we're not going to do Pride Night," and then it became Russians, right? Oh, they're worried about Putin. It's all about this. Thought this was interesting. Salim put this on his Twitter yesterday. Got this back from Bill Daly. The Players Association was consulted on the specifics of our new policy and indicated its support for the memo that was sent out last week. Surprisingly, I went and looked at the NHLPA. The NHLPA has not commented on this. But I do believe that quietly and tacitly they have attached their permission to this because of certain players and certain agents. Mark Stahl, let's call it for what it was. Mark Stahl, I've never worn this. Oh, but here's this picture. Or I've never promoted, I don't want to promote that lifestyle. Yeah, but here's a picture of you doing it in Montreal. You were in, oh no, I've never worn the jersey. Yeah, but you did. You're a liar. That's what you are. You're a liar, Stahl. You're a liar. Okay? This has never, ever been about promoting a lifestyle or a recruitment or anything like this. This has been always about saying you're welcome in hockey. Heroes Hockey, which I have all the time for, put out a great post today. And it's not new. They didn't invent it, but it's a good reminder. Diversity is when you're invited to the team. Inclusion is when you're asked to play. And Hockey's for Everyone is supposed to be an inclusion program. You Can Play is probably one of the biggest voices in this sector. They said it best, well, second best actually until today. You Can Play put out a post yesterday about this and called the NHL out on its hypocrisy, and as they should. It's now clear that the NHL is stepping back from its longstanding commitment to inclusion and continuing to unravel all of its one-time industry-leading work in the LGBT community, which is true. The NHL was way ahead of other leagues on this stuff, but now has decided that a couple of uncomfortable, I call them delicate geniuses. It's a George Costanza line from Seinfeld. Delicate geniuses. We coddle these NHL players. We coddle these million-dollar baseball athletes. We coddle these players as if there's some sort of secret commodity that has to be kept safe from humanity. They're not. They're human beings, flawed just like you and I. There's lots of good ones. There's a handful of bad ones. I thought the real statement of record today came from the former president of hockey operations for the Calgary Flames, friend of this program, and the man behind Brian Burke's Targets for Kids for Calgary Kids Sport and the Flames Sports Bank. Brian Burke, his comments today, it should come as a wake-up call. I think a lot of statements like this from You Can Play, but when Brian does it, he's going to get the attention of the league, and he did not mince words. He called it out for what it is. It's a slap in the face. It's ridiculous. So if it feels like, Jack, you just want to put up Berkey for a sec here? Because there is one line in there I kind of want to make mention of that I thought was important in all of this. And this came out from Brian Burke today. I'll just let it get up there. I should have wrote it down. But and obviously this is very close to the Burke family for reasons we all know. That he lost his son in a car accident. He came out, and Brian has been there. He's marched in pride parades. I am deeply disappointed by the NHL's decision to ban on-ice support for community causes. I've worked in a variety of NHL markets over the years, over 35 years, and have always made it a priority for my teams to commit substantial time, energy, and resources to engage with and support local organizations and causes. It has been one of the great joys and responsibilities of my life to see the positive impact hockey can have on the community. That is fact. That is fact. Talk to people here in Calgary about the requirement of working for Brian Burke. Talk to Brad Treliving about the requirements for working with Brian Burke. Talk to Craig Conroy about now, both of those guys already invest in the community. They're fine to do it. But he talks the talk and he walks the walk. Make no mistake, this is a surprising and serious setback. I have spoken to many who are heartbroken, angry, and disappointed by this decision. If you're a member of these communities who has been celebrated in the past hockey is for Everyone initiatives, please know that you are still a valued member of our hockey community. The pride tape is here for a reason. And I'm not going to lose my crap this time because players that don't want to get their hands dirty. And I'm not going to sit here and justify it. If I go to a Roman Catholic church and take in a service, I sit in the pews, I read the scriptures, I listen, but I'm not Roman Catholic. But I can be respectful. When I go out to First Nations communities and I sit and listen to elders talk about the Creator, participate in their prayers, I'm being respectful. That's all I'm doing. All we're trying to do is say, let's be respectful of these communities. This one is particularly important. All of them are important. This one's important for this reason. We are living in the middle of a mental health crisis. Let's talk about Calgary. On any given day, you can go to the Children's Hospital and there will be a backlog of young teenagers who are in there with mental health issues. Some of them, not all of them, some of them are based on identity. Some of them are based on wanting to be their true selves, but living in a society who says you don't matter. As a matter of fact, I don't believe in your right to exist. That's the reality of it. Every time we do a Pride Night or we show this tape, we're saying you're welcome here. You're included here. I don't give a tinker's damn if an NHL player ever has this tape on their stick again. Where I care is Hockey Calgary, Ringette Calgary, girls hockey, Hockey Alberta, Alberta lacrosse, anywhere that we can find a place for this tape to go on the stick, the clipboard, the wrist of a coach on that staff. This needs to be an indicator to a young child who might be struggling with identity that somebody there is an ally, that somebody there is not to crush them. It's not a debate about the lifestyle. It's not a debate about recruiting. It's not a debate about anything. It's about making sure people feel comfortable, feel welcome, feel like they can be part of a team. If you're a coach, buy some, put it on your stick, put it on your clipboard, put it on your hat, but put it somewhere where somebody can see it. And if they're struggling, if they have questions, if they don't know, they see it and they know this person will not judge me. This person will take care of me. This is mental health and safety. The NHL, owners, agents, and a handful of players, Mark Stahl and others, don't want it. Don't want to be associated with it. I don't promote that lifestyle. Cool. That's cool. Sure. But by turning a blind eye to it, or by ignoring it, or by saying, I don't support it, or whatever, somewhere somebody's going to hear that as, I don't count. My life doesn't matter. It's reality. So here we are. I'm excited. I'm excited by the outpouring of support. I'm loving the fact that it's coming from all corners. Is it for everybody? Nope. This I know to be true because I've been in the game long enough. The people that need to hear this won't hear this. The people who are the problem think they're the solution. There has never been an issue that I have seen in hockey that has been raised from the outside that the inside doesn't go, oh, That's true. Maybe we should. Oh. The inside always says, well, they don't know. They're just trying to get, it's the media. The media is trying to get us. The media is making this a big story. Damn rights we're making it a big story. You should be accountable. Is hockey for everyone? Nope. Are there people in the NHL offices who fight every single day to make NHL for everyone? You bet your ass there is. Same thing with the teams. And I know them. I know them by name. Call them on my phone right now. Embarrassed that this has happened. So we got two choices. Roll over and play dead, or we continue to be allies. I choose to be an ally. I choose to continue to go into the community and promote the use of pride tape on coaches' sticks, on coaches' clipboards, on coaches' hats. I continue to go into the community and say hockey needs, it's not a want, it's a need to be inclusive. And inclusive means you're on the team and playing and part of the team. Don't give a tinker's damn about the other stuff. That's twice I've used that. All right. Heavy show. So let's leave it on two good notes. How about this? Our pal, our following him, Matt Phillips in Washington, made the opening day roster. He's going to wear number 45. Looks like he's going to play on third line. They love him in Washington. It didn't hurt that his coach, Mitch Love, was there. But Matty Phillips, and this, I love this picture. There you go. Pushing the practice pucks. That's how you stay humble. That's how you stay hungry. Pushing the practice. I love this kid. He's like, this has nothing to do with the Flames anymore. Like, I get it. I understand how the world works. Yeah, they missed that. Matty Phillips is made the opening day roster. He has not played enough to get a pension yet. He may not be an NHLer, but he's being given an opportunity because he earned it. And I'm happy for him. He's a nice kid. He's a good kid. He's a hell of a hockey player, but he doesn't fit the norm in some people's eyes. So kudos to the Washington Capitals and kudos to Matty Phillips for getting this done. Last, certainly not least, Curtis McElhinney. This one might have slipped through this one might have just slipped through the cracks on people. Toronto Maple Leafs, Brad Treliving announcing some hirings this week, and Curtis McElhinney is their new goaltending guru, and I'm really happy for Curtis. There was director of goaltending development and scouting. So Trees had quite an impact on the goaltending coaching fraternity and how it's viewed in organizations. So Curtis McElhinney gets it. Drafted by the Flames, played with Brent Cron down in Omaha, I believe, was an American Hockey League All-Star, backed up Mika Kiprusoff, maybe the most impossible job in the whole world. To this day, none of this is supposed to be personal. And you're not supposed to like guys more than other guys. But I'll say this. To this day, I have never forgiven Mike Keenan. Never forgiven Mike Keenan. Calgary played in Montreal. Tough game against the Canadiens. Got in the plane. Snow came. Didn't get off the ground until 5 a.m. Flew into Detroit. Got in there 7 or whatever it was in the morning. Played that night. Kipper played in Montreal. McElhinney got the night off. This is against the good, Datsuk, Zetterberg, Samuelson, the really good, might even have been Hasek Red Wings. I can't remember, but the good Red Wings. And every time you went into Detroit, the Red Wings always got 5-on-3s. They just did. Calgary kept it tied in overtime, 4-on-4 overtime. Todd Bertuzzi goes for a big skate, coughs up the puck at the blue line, and Detroit scores, wins the game 4-3. And after the game, Mike Keenan threw Curtis McElhinney under the bus. Goalie's got to make a save. He's paid to make saves. He didn't make a save when it mattered the most. He's one of the nicest human beings I've ever met. He's a Calgary kid, was proud to be a Calgary kid, always popped into the hot stove lounge when he came in and waved and said hi. Talked to him a little bit in the offseason at times. Just so he's a Stanley Cup champion. He is a winner. And I'm just so happy for Curtis McElhinney. And I wanted to leave it there. So there you go. somehow we cobbled together a 2-hour podcast through all of this. We laughed, we cried. We gave you 10 things that I think, but if you count them, you will not find 10, and you know why. You know why. Friday, Eric Dahachuk is back in. We will sit down with the Athletics. Dahachuk, lots to talk about with him. Looking forward to that. By then, we'll have a little bit clearer picture on the Calgary Flames and whether the sky is falling or we're planning the parade route. One or the other will happen. You know that. Cannot do this show without Jack, our outstanding producer. He takes glorious care of me and makes this look way better than I deserve. So thank you, Jack, for that. Thanks to Carla MacLeod, the head coach of Ottawa in the Professional Women's Hockey League, the unnamed. I think Fighting Squirrels would work. And other than that, get yourself a roll of this, put it on your stick, let everybody know that you're there, an ally. You'll always be a supportive shoulder for somebody if they need it. Have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the start of the Flames season. Get out to the Greta Bar tonight and join the Barn Burner guys. I got a little bit of work to do up north, and I'll see you back in the studio on Friday. Have a great day, everybody.